coming up on The
In the
Source.
city of Wilmington and anywhere, right, you're not going to solve all gun violence in a year and a half kind of window.
That we actually make some type of investment in gun violence prevention. And I was told that they're going to wait until next budget session to do that. To get to the Office of Violence Prevention, we have to start off with these programs that we're doing now in that plan, and then it develops into an Office of Violence Prevention.
Seems as though you had the vision, right, that other people didn't have. But I thank you for bringing that forward, and hopefully one day we have an administration that's willing to listen on that and actually do the right thing.
And it's kind of frustrating, right? Because you see the benefit in something happening in other cities. You see law enforcement throughout the country who are willing to take these forward-thinking steps and say, let's do this work.
Looking at where and what areas of the city have been heavily targeted, and you kind of see a certain demographic. You see it's been the more African American population that has been targeted, and the low income portions of the city that have been targeted. Hello, everyone, and welcome to The Source. My name is Kobe Owens, and as you may see, Pastor Curry's not here today, but we still have an amazing show for you today.
Yes, and Shanae Darby here with you guys, so excited.
All right, let's jump on into it. So, first off, I want to talk about there was a shooting earlier this week in the city of Wilmington. I know
Yeah.
we've been talking about the gun violence in the city. You have any details on that or anything that's going on? Have you heard anything from the police about it?
No, I haven't heard much about the teen shooting, so we don't get much. I feel like coverage. I think that we should get on highlighting the shootings that are happening. But I know the city is rolling out our gun violence intervention plan, which our local community partners just went through like a week training through our collective, which the people came down from Newark to kind of assess what we needed and to see how we can provide support to attacking the gun violence issue. So that part is happening. I'm not too familiar with the shooting in Wilmington with the teenager. About how old were they?
They were a 17-year-old male, in stable condition, thank God. And this happened in the unit block of Gordon Street. So, again, it's another young life affected by gun violence. I am very happy to hear that y'all are taking steps to get things rolling with the gun violence prevention groups. I do have a question though. So, that money that they used for that was from ARPA, right?
Correct.
COVID money that has to be spent by, is it 2024 or 2025?
2024, 2025, around that time, yeah.
So in the city of Wilmington and anywhere, right, you're not going to solve all gun violence in a year and a half kind of window. Is there any plan for this to be sustainable funding for these groups?
No, it's not. And I asked for in this budget session that we're about to enter in that we actually make some type of investment in gun violence prevention. And I was told that they're going to wait until next budget session to do that. But I think the time is now because this budget hearing is going to be approved for July 1, 2023 to 2024. So it needs to be in the budget now if we're talking about sustainability. But they're saying that next year. So because everyone could put suggestions in for the budget, my budget suggestion just didn't make it in regards to gun violence, like making it a permanent investment in our budget. So I'm not sure what's going to happen in the future.
Well, you had a recommendation for an Office of Violence Prevention. Is that the one you're talking about, or is this another recommendation?
This is a separate recommendation. So I actually asked for the Office of Violence Prevention, but to get to the Office of Violence Prevention, we have to start off with these programs that we're doing now in that plan, and then it develops into an Office of Violence Prevention. So eventually, that pot of money will be for the Office of Violence Prevention. But for right now, it's just saying, let's take this money allocated towards gun violence prevention. Let's build out these programs, and then we can develop an office later. So that's what they actually did in Newark, which we're replicating. Is they didn't start off with an Office of Violence Prevention. They simply started off with, we're starting this program. And then the program grew, they got more money, and then that's when they were able to get three, or I think it's 3 to 5% of the public safety budget to fund the Office of Violence Prevention.
So it almost sounds as though when you made that proposal during COVID, when we had extra money coming into the city, it was fiscally sound to use that money for a pilot programs to show the feasibility of a potential Office of Violence Prevention that would then therefore be allocated from the actual budget, right? Or our actual operating budget. So it seems as though you had the vision, right? That other people didn't have. But um I thank you for bringing that forward, and hopefully one day we have an administration that's willing to listen on that and actually do the right thing. Unfortunately, we won't have that additional COVID money there.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to talk about for gun violence?
No, nothing much for gun violence. I just hope that city council or the community holds us accountable to making sure that we're invested in that, and then also working in partnership with the community, we're able to really tackle the gun violence issue. So we'll see what happens. I know next is the Kumba Academy bus accident that happened. So
Yeah.
I think I rolled past it when I was dropping my daughter to school, but I know you have more about it.
Yeah, so again, earlier this week, there was an accident on 8th and Spruce
Hmm.
around 8 a.m. school drop off time. Um, Police believe that the driver of the bus had a medical emergency, which caused him to lose control and hit the side of an SUV. So there's no public update on the health of the bus driver, but all the students were checked out. None of them were injured. And again, the bus driver dealt with their medical emergency. So again, just being safe. They were able to see this happen on the action cam. So there's cameras on the front of the bus, inside, and then also on some of the buses. Now there was a law recently passed that also has cameras on the side of the bus to see if
Okay.
cars are passing and stuff like that. But they've also used that in accidents as well too. But again, as things open back up, um, as people are going back to school full time, right? One of the concerns of a lot of parents and just a lot of people in the school system is your child getting to school in a safe way. I know a lot of parents have opted instead of using, well, we have a bus driver shortage still, but instead of using buses, they are now driving their own child to their schools, their respective schools. Now,
There's
is
a lot of
that
carpooling
yeah.
happening too. So I know at I think it's Eastside Charter. I know the principal there had put together a really good program where parents are carpooling and able to bring kids into the school. So I think like that is happening a lot of times too. And that was happening at my daughter's, oh, she goes to Cap Calloway. That was happening there too. In the beginning of the school year, it was a list of wait you can sign up for with a parent if you wanted your child to carpool. So
Mhm.
yeah, so it's definitely changing, and I think I wonder what like bus accidents if that was because they're going to happen, like accidents happen. So I don't know if this is like unusual or I'm not sure, but I feel like it's going to happen. But it's a good conversation to start talking about. Are our children traveling safely to school? What does that even look like? And it's not even just the bus for me; it's the behavior on the bus,
Yeah.
the managing of the behaviors on the bus. I think about all of those things when I think of my children being on bus and like the safety, even dealing with other kids.
Now, did you take the bus in school, or did your parents drive you?
I took the bus to
You took the
school, and
bus.
then yeah, I took the bus to school for most of my schooling, and then I got a car. So yeah, so I was driving. Thought I was cool.
But yeah, no, it's definitely been more buses involved in accidents this year. I think this is the like sixth or seventh one so far. Um, no one has been injured in any of them, just a few bumps and bruises, but nothing serious. And this has been up and down the state, right? One on Route 1 not too long ago, and then even on the college level, the Dell State bowling team
Oh
was in
yeah, I
a
remember that.
accident not too long ago as well too. So again, things are changing. There's a lot of new bus drivers on the road. They don't have as much experience driving buses. And then also, I feel as though drivers have to be more respectful as well too. I think people, didn't drive for a year, and now everyone's just speeding down the road, only thinking about themselves, not other cars around them.
And when I think of like the demographics of who can be a bus driver, right? It's
Mhm.
usually not like a young mom family because the bus driving hours really like they mess
They're
up with
chaotic, yeah.
pick up drop up time. So it's usually I feel like people who don't have children or the older senior population who may have medical issues or stuff like that who's doing that type of work. So that's what I think of. I don't know if that's true or not because I was like, I know I couldn't be a bus driver, not because I can't drive, because I gotta pick up my own kids too, right? So thinking of those things and like who bus drivers are, how vetting them, hiring them, because if they have a medical condition that causes them to crash, should they be on the road?
Right.
I don't know. I don't know all the details. So I don't know. Something to think about.
Yeah. So I think this was a very good segment. We will be right back.
Keyshawn Rollins was standing on his front porch when someone across the street shouted his name.
All I heard was, "Yo, Sean," and I turned my head.
Then the air exploded.
I thought they had an automatic because how the shots was coming. They was coming fast, so we had to react fast.
As the 16-year-old hugged the floor, bullets blasted through the front windows, splintered the wall above his 2-year-old sister's play area, and slammed into the kitchen cabinets. Keyshawn was hit twice in the thigh. His 18-year-old sister, Keyshauna, suffered a deep graze on her knee. Following the attack on their Wilmington, Delaware home, the teen's parents moved them out of town. But even before his wounds had healed, Keyshawn was ready to go back.
I don't fear no man. I only fear God, so if you gonna take me, just take me. That is what it is.
It is what it is. That's not just bravado. In Wilmington, it's a sad reality. An analysis by the Associated Press and Gannett's USA Today network found that Delaware's largest city, population just 72,000, has by far the highest rate of teen gun violence in the country. An adolescent here is nearly twice as likely to be shot as one in Chicago.
You know, they've lost hope at the age of 10 and 12 years old. It's like, why even try? I'm going to die anyway.
A year-long investigation by the News Journal, Gannett's local newspaper, linked a large number of youth shootings in Wilmington to two gangs. The feud began in January 2015 with the murder of 16-year-old Jordan Ellerby. Another flashpoint came in May 2016, when 15-year-old Brandon Wingo was gunned down walking home from school. Wilmington is a corporate tax haven where the riverfront that once cranked out warships now sports luxury condos. But 86% of the city's youth receive some form of state assistance.
Help us. Help us. Help us.
That's good, you spoke.
The violence has spread like an infectious disease in the city's poor neighborhoods.
We just did a vigil up this street. The guy that was murdered.
The Reverend Derek Johnson says shootings here are more about respect than money or drugs. And insults escalate quickly via social media. Johnson says a gun gives a sense of power to those who feel powerless.
I feel insignificant in my family. I'm insignificant in school. I'm insignificant in my community. I'm gonna matter. And if I die before I'm 21, it doesn't matter.
New Police Chief Robert Tracy is making use of broad-based anti-gang laws and warning kids to be careful who they run with.
We want you to be a productive citizen. We want you to be a productive juvenile so you can be a productive adult. But what we want you to do is stay away from the violence, put the guns down.
But in Wilmington, violence has a way of finding you, even if you're not looking for it.
Anybody can be shot. Bullets don't have no name.
2 years ago, Raekwon Briscoe caught a stray round in the back. At 17, he was paralyzed from the waist down. Guns have played an outsized role in Briscoe's life. His younger brother, Ramir, was charged with killing a man at 14. Still, he tries to justify the violence.
The only thing that's going to be the gun is a gun. Retaliation. That's all some people know is retaliation.
On July 21st, Briscoe's brother and 2 other gang members were sentenced in connection with several killings, including the murder of Keyshawn's and Keyshauna's older brother. 5 days after the sentencing, the family's home was riddled with bullets. The father believes revenge was behind the attack.
We losing these kids too fast. And that's a sad situation. And the crazy thing about it is these kids is accepting it. They accepting like going to jail for life. They accepting, you know what I mean, getting put in a grave.
The older kids want to go home, but their mother says it's time to leave Wilmington.
I'm not losing no more kids. I'm not bearing no more kids. I'm not losing no more kids. They already took one, they're not gonna take no more. No.
Alan Breed, Associated Press, Wilmington, Delaware.
And we're back. It's time for the Shanae Scoop portion of the show. Shanae, what you got for us today?
Well, one of my favorite topics, of course, is on housing. We have, there's a group of community people working together, tenants throughout the city of Wilmington, starting a City of Wilmington autonomous Wilmington Tenants Rights Union, right? So I'm excited to know that tenants are starting to feel empowered. They're getting connected to resources. And one of the things that they're launching is a tenants rights workshop, right? So they'll be going around to different housing and units and having these tenants rights workshops to teach people about their rights to being a tenant, understanding the landlord tenant code. So I was excited. I went to the first workshop and I learned so much, right? I was a tenant at one point in time in the city of Wilmington, and I wish that there were some things that I learned the other night that I knew that when I was a renter to hold my landlord accountable. So I think this is like a really empowering thing for our community, and hopefully it can grow. So if you're interested, contact some of the Homes Campaign people. You'll see them like on Facebook and social media. Ask them about the union. The union, I know they're starting to launch their Facebook and their social media accounts and their website. So I think it's just a really good opportunity for tenants to network and have a large network of people to hold landlords accountable. And the purpose of it really is we just want affordable and livable units in our city, right? And we want to be able to have renters feel empowered to advocate for themselves and know where the resources are. So I was there. I know Kobe was there. I don't know what you thought about the workshops.
Yeah, I think the workshop was absolutely amazing. It went over the landlord tenant code, which again, with any law, any code, the vast majority of people don't even know where to find it, right?
Right.
And if they do know how to find it, they don't know really what everything in there means. So I think the facilitators really broke it down in a way that was fun, educational, and people took good notes and was able to walk away with documents to help them in their own situations. As this grows, this is going to be a very important tool for individuals to use throughout the city of Wilmington. We're already seeing the city being dominated by landlords, right? We are now a majority renter city. So in order to make sure everyone is protected here, you have to do more things like this. So I'm super excited to see the union forming. It's led by renters, people who are on the front line of any community. They usually have the best solutions to fix whatever issues they're going through. So it's going to be interesting.
Yeah, I'm excited for that. Also on the other end is like the landlord. Like, so I'm not against landlords, right? So I want to make that clear, but I am for holding landlords accountable who are not doing the right thing. And that goes to say, in city council, as a council person, I applied to the National League of City with some community people, and we got accepted into a landlord engagement lab, right? So I think it's important to engage with our landlords in the city of Wilmington to figure out ways to decrease eviction, to provide livable housing for people here in the city of Wilmington. So I think those things are so key and important too. So we're also with the Wilmington Landlord Engagement Lab in partnership with Energize Delaware. So Energize Delaware, they are giving out grant money to landlords, to small mom and pop landlords. So if you own a few units, they're giving out grants to help you fix up your properties and make it livable for residents throughout, I think it's a state grant, but specifically I talk about the city of Wilmington, but for the city of Wilmington, so we're having a town hall on March 30th. And I'm pretty sure we'll be able to put the flyer up there with the information so that people are able to see where to go. We're going to be at the Powell Center March 30th around 6 o'clock. If you're a landlord, you want to get access to resources. We want to take this opportunity to discuss how can the city improve our relationship with landlords, right? So I think it's a two-way thing. How do we empower renters and how do we empower landlords, right? How do we empower? I think it has to be a two-way conversation. And I think the conversation for landlords is usually punitive. Right, it's about punishment with the city, right? And I'm not looking to just be punitive, because if we don't have education, if we don't have resources, and without with just punitive, then I think it really is not about improving housing. It's about being punitive, making money off of people, when that should not be the case. It should be about how do we create circumstances through rentership and through ownership to create livable housing for all people in the city of Wilmington. So I know the landlord town hall is coming up soon, so hopefully people can come out. So another key thing is affordable connectivity. So it was recently announced with Governor Carney that this affordable connectivity program will be rolling out, and this will provide eligible household with a monthly discount of $30 on their internet bill, and a one-time $100 discount towards a laptop, desktop computer, or tablet. And more than 140,000 Delaware households are estimated to be eligible for ACP, right? So I think this is a really good program. This is a program that actually existed. I know that I personally I had Comcast on and off, where it was like if you get free or reduced lunch, or you get some type of like SNAP benefits, you automatically qualify. So I know I had this before, but I think they're pumping more money into a program like this and launching it to get more people connected to high-speed internet throughout this state. So you have Arden, Bethel, Bowers Beach, Cheswood, Clayton, Delaware City, Dover, Georgetown, Wilmington, and Seaford, Newark. So it's about a good 10 to 12 cities participating and amplifying this affordability connectivity program. And I think through COVID, it was highlighted.
Yeah.
Like, we needed to put more money into it. We needed to do more than what was being done. So
I agree with you. And this is being funded through the bipartisan infrastructure law that passed back in, I believe, November 2021, right? This is a program that's been around, right? But it hasn't been around on this level.
right.
And I think that's the important part. We saw during COVID the connectivity issues, right? The internet gap, which led to a greater educational gap. We scrambled to get Wi-Fi hotspots for
Yep.
people
Laptops, all of
all
it.
over. School districts scrambled to get laptops. Some of them forgot to give out the charger cords to them, so it only worked for a few days. But I think COVID really highlighted the steps we can go in, right? When it comes to just digital learning and stuff like that, making sure students are connected at home so that they can get their homework done, and hopefully that translates into better grades and bringing up their scores that we're seeing that are very low in some of these schools, especially in some of the city schools, right? And making sure just that added investment is there to help with their educational learning throughout the way.
Right.
This also helps with individuals who are in low income jobs. There's a lot of online, at home, remote jobs that you can do, but people just don't have the money to get that laptop that they need to do their job.
Yeah.
Or to connect with work. Everything is digital. Seeing your kids' grades, to your work schedule, everything is digital
Everything.
now. And just having a phone is not the best option anymore. I know we're grateful that we have smartphones, but smartphones are expensive. Cell phone bills are out of control right now as well too.
Be
So
limited. You can't write a paper on it,
exactly,
right? You could.
you could, but
But
it's
not the best
difficult,
option.
right?
It's
It's not the best
difficult to
option.
do that.
It's not the best for your eyes as well too. Now I sound like my mom.
Yeah, that's
But
true.
making sure you you have more resources at your fingertips.
Yeah, and I think it's just hitting on that conversation. I know that there's a few churches in my district, like a Rise Church. They're providing hotspots for the surrounding community, right?
Mhm.
And I think of like the bigger conversation around like connectivity for internet and access is like, how does the city provide that in a large scale where the whole city has access to internet,
Yeah.
right? Which I thought was really cool. I went to DC the other day and I'm in the car. I'm waiting for my daughter. She's at a performance, and I'm like, darn, I really didn't want to use my hotspot. I didn't really have a charger, so I'm trying to not use my phone. I see that they had internet I could hop on
Mhm.
in the middle of DC, sitting in the car. Hopped on the internet. It worked fine. I was able to do that. I was like, that'd be really cool if I was home in the city of Wilmington and I can connect, right?
And the city of Wilmington's either smaller or just about the same size as DC. I think it's smaller.
Yeah.
Size wise. So it's something that can be done
That's what I'm saying.
here.
It can
And
be
it's
done. And it's just
you just have to have the
you have to have the will, the power. You have to have an administration that's willing to like. It is not something that's going to happen overnight. So I'm
No.
not expecting to say, "Oh, we're going to put whatever $1 million into it this budget." But how do we start the conversation? How do we start that process? But you really have to have an administration and a council that's really committed to things like this. So
But again, if you look at Mayor Bowser, right, the DC mayor, she used her COVID money, right, with forward thinking vision, right,
yep.
to say, how can I get the best out of this? Yes, this may be a one time payment, but how can I make sure this is everlasting, right?
Yeah.
So you see how different people handle different things, but as a black woman in politics, she's gone up against some barriers, but her thinking has been there. So it's just you think outside the box sometimes.
Yeah, no, and just the last thing that I have on my list is community response team. So I know I've been giving updates on. We have partnered. City Council have partnered with this organization called LEAP, Law Enforcement Action Partnership. They're a group of law enforcement people throughout the nation who are interested in developing community response teams throughout the nation. So they have worked with a few cities already. I had reached out to them. I said, listen, the city of Wilmington, we are in need of a community response team, right? So the community response team, the goal of that is to decrease the citizens' interactions with police officers if there are low offense crimes or quality of life issues, right? So homelessness. Do we need a police officer to respond to a call about a homeless person sleeping on the sidewalk, right? Do we need a police officer to respond to someone having a mental breakdown, right? So having these conversations about how do we look at our 911 call database and say, let's reroute and create like another so we reroute calls to police to fire. How do we create another center where we create a reroute to a community response team for certain calls, and they can work with families and work with people on resources and that continuing like social work management that's very intimate and specific to the city of Wilmington. I was able to have a meeting with the administration and with police chief Campos, and they are not interested in a community response team. I was informed that the administration does not want to do the assessment. So the assessment was originally $40,000. I was able to work with the LEAP, and they were able to secure a grant for $40,000. So it covered the cost. So it's a free assessment to kind of let us know what our community response team would look like in Wilmington. And the administration was like, nah, we don't want to do it. We don't even want to meet with them. Right. So I'm like, how about y'all meet with them? And the program is willing to meet with them. They're also willing to meet with Police Campos, and they're not willing to meet with this program. They're willing to bring police chiefs from other cities across the country and sit down with Police Campos and talk about the benefits, the cost savings, and the benefits it had on developing a community response team. And that conversation they do not want to have. And it's kind of frustrating, right? Because you see the benefit in something happening in other cities. You see law enforcement throughout the country who are willing to take these forward-thinking steps and say, let's do this work. Let's find ways for cost savings. Let's find ways to improve community relation. Let's find ways to respond to calls in a more effective way. And it's just not happening here, right? And you have to have an administration and a city council who are willing to boldly say, we are going to change the narrative of policing in our city. We are going to do that. Now, what Police Campos' focus is, I am not opposed to, right? So his idea he wants to focus on community policing. So increasing the community engagement team, which I think is a great idea. I think police should be trained. I think all police officers should be trained to be community centered, right? I don't even think it should be a special unit for it. Like that should just, if you're a public safety, you're a community, right? But the fact that we even have to create a community engagement team is a whole nother conversation. But the fact that they want to create this community engagement team and have teams of people in different parts of the city to interact without, they're just patrol. They're not really responding to like 911 calls. They're really just hitting on some quality of life things and addressing that. I think it's great. I think we need police officers like that, but I also don't think they're fully trained to do that. And I don't think funding should go into developing this robust community engagement team of police officers, right? I think police officers should be able to focus on what they're trained to do, which is solve these high crimes and to hopefully deter them from happening. But I don't see that happening in the city of Wilmington. And I think that's great what his focus is. But if we don't have the other balance over here, then what does this really mean? So it's just frustrating being in this role, trying to come up with different ideas, and you're pushed back. And it's not even about the money, because the money, the assessment was covered. It's just the unwillingness. So that's the frustrating part.
No, I completely agree with you. And I look forward to see where this discussion goes as well, too. Is there anything else that you wanted to talk about?
No, that's it, really. That's all I have for Shanae Scope today. So.
All right, we'll be right back.
It was a warm, beautiful day, and the excitement in the air was the Battle of the Bay between the two baseball teams, the Giants and the A's. My family was sitting down to dinner with the television on to watch the World Series game, and then the earthquake started. The television blacked out, there was noise everywhere. All of a sudden, the ground was shaking, the walls were shaking. It's like being on an ocean liner that's hit a huge wave or a storm at sea.
The fire in Oakland is a major fire, a large fire nearly half a block long. The Bay Bridge has been lost.
It was the scariest thing I'd ever been through. And I think the worst thing about it was not knowing what to do after.
In 1989, when Loma Prieta earthquake hit, our department went to Los Angeles to get the CERT curriculum, the Community Emergency Response Team program. Our primary goal is to make sure that the residents that live here are ready for anything.
Mart is a small town. There's only about 2,000 people that live here. So what's unique about the CERT program here at Mart is a number of things. One, it's all teenagers. All of us are in high school. It's also taught as an actual class here. It affects our GPA. The Teen CERT program is crucial to Mart because we don't have EMS, we don't have those types of first responders. Waco would be called first, and it takes them at least 30 minutes to get here. So we really are the first line of defense.
So we are going to be looking at MIs. What are MIs? Heart attack.
As the town's needs change, our studies change. Our community needs not just the CERT curriculum, but we add to that with EMT curriculum. I don't think adults give teenagers in general enough credit for what they can and can't do. We kind of undermine what I think they're capable of. So if you teach them to rise to that expectation, they will, and they'll be able to handle it. Marlin is in Falls County, 20-30 minutes away. The water system completely failed last year. So the townspeople were without water for approximately 10 to 12 days.
We kind of just immediately jumped into action and knew exactly what to do.
The thing that they did the most was console people. It was very traumatic for the whole community. So to be there to give assistance really helped us feel like we were making a difference with some people.
We've been prepared so well that whenever we're put into these situations, we don't think about, can I do this? We do it because we've had the training and we know that we can.
We teach people confidence. The confidence that should a situation arise, that you have the capabilities to react to that situation. So one of the scenarios that we have is what to do in the event of either being in a submerged vehicle or coming upon one.
In the right leg.
All right, go ahead and get her out and then take her over there on the side of the road. Good job, Ivan. Great job.
It's okay, we'll carry you. What's your name,
Tell us your name. My name is Dolores Bertolini. Yes.
CERT for me meant survival and how to survive in the wilderness, because at that time I thought this was wilderness. We were big city kids from New York City, so we never even thought about hurricanes. It's just beautiful here all the time. But when a storm comes, everything changes.
Our CERT members played a huge role in Hurricane Matthew. We were a part of opening a shelter here in our region, and our CERT members were the ones that came to the rescue once again and manned that shelter. They made sure that everybody had what they needed. We could not react as an emergency management division without them. They are that integral of a role.
Everybody can be a CERT member. Everybody brings a skill. That's the type of city we have.
So the next earthquake, we know it's going to happen within 30 years. We know we're going to get a big one. We have no idea when it's going to occur, but we have to be ready.
We've had a lot of people that felt like they needed to do something after the earthquake. Today, the CERT program is stronger than ever.
We care about our community, so we sign up and show up. This is my first citywide drill where I get to apply the skills I've learned.
We assess the building from outside to see what we notice.
You are always assessing your situation to make sure that you react quickly and proactively. I've also learned many different skills, like being able to assess structural damage in a building, look for gas leaks, and do a little bit of triage.
Our job here is to train our CERT volunteers to be on their own for at least 3 or 4 days. We're so used to calling on resources that are readily available to us, and during the time of an earthquake, those resources just aren't going to come. So you really have to rely on your neighbors and the people that are around you.
I am not afraid anymore. If another earthquake happens or another disaster, I have some skills that I've learned, and so the fear and the terror is not there.
It's really empowering to know that you're what's going to be there first. You're what's going to comfort the people.
Because of the CERT training, we didn't lose hope. We actually became proponents of you can survive no matter what.
I think what I like best about the program is just feeling like I am part of San Francisco, and in case of an emergency, I feel prepared.
And we're back. Look, it's time for my corner of the show, Kobe's Corner. And I just wanted to talk about a few things. So first, I want to talk about what's going on an environmental standpoint here in the state of Delaware. We are working on a bill that we had introduced, HB 466, last session that unfortunately didn't get through the General Assembly. We're still working on that bill. It's a host of environmental activists, environmental justice activists, DEMRAC, DELDOT, and the Legislative Black Caucus. And what it is we all know about the high levels of environmental pollution in our communities, whether it's in South Bridge, Northeast, Governor Prince area, it all throughout the state of Delaware. We know that a lot of those who face the risk of being in these areas are disproportionately people of color, people living in lower income communities. They are the ones who are closer to industrial facilities, where large quantities of toxin chemicals are going into your waterways, your wasteways, and your air as well too. So this bill, again, it puts stipulations on cumulative impact reports that have to meet community standards. If you are permitting a heavy industry to have a permit to come into an area, right, or to renew their permit. Hopefully this is also going to get tied in with traffic impact reports as well too. Because even if it's not going to be extremely heavy industry, if you know you're going to be having 18-wheelers, diesel trucks coming through that are carrying all different type of material that can blow into the air or get into the water as well too, that's going to have an impact on the community that lives around there. So again, we're working in a big coalition to get this bill done. We're still working hashing some of the things out with DNRAC right now, from what we view as what we want to be affected by the permitting process. We don't want mom and pop shops impacted, right? They're not the ones who are putting major pollutants into the air. I know one of the talking points was, oh, what about a mom and pop shop that's like a dry cleaners or something like that? There are special regulations for dry cleaners so that the toxins that they used to put into the air and into the water, it's not the same anymore. So as we go forward with this, we're going to continue to keep people updated. We're probably going to have a few public hearings on this as well too. And then once the bill's introduced, we want everyone who are from impacted communities to come and give public testimony on why this is so important to you. I know the Southbridge community, Southbridge and the Route 9 corridor community, they turn out every time because they are living proof of what environmental injustice looks like in the state of Delaware. Next, I want to talk about the Delaware Earns program. The Delaware Earns program was a bill HB 204 or 205 that was led by Representative Larry Lampert and spearheaded through the state treasurer's office, Colleen Davis. They are launching their program. They just hired on their team, and the board is fully appointed now, which means if you look throughout the country, 57 million private sector American workers have no access to retirement programs that their job is offering to them. In Delaware, that number's a little lower, right? But it's still a very significant number. More than 147,000 Delawareans lack access to an employer-sponsored retirement plan. That's where this comes in. It expands access to the retirement plan and necessary savings, right, earns, to secure. It's a secure choice program tailored to meet the needs of hardworking people, the working class, the working families, to make sure that they can retire with dignity and have somewhat of a savings there for them. So on April the 11th at the POW 3707 North Market Street, we will be hosting the kickoff town hall to explain more about the program. You'll get to meet some of the program partners such as AARP, the program coordinator, and learn more about how you can get your workplace signed up for this as well too. And this is again going to be a very critical piece of a critical tool in making sure we're fighting the wealth gap that occurs, right? We're seeing that of household spending, it's about an 18% growth over the last 10 years and another 18 over the next maybe 10 to 15 years going into like 2030, 2035 as well too. So we know you're going to be spending more, so you need to start saving now so that you don't have to work as long into your older age. Then next, I'm going to talk about the fines and fees town hall that's coming up. And I know you're very involved with that. If you want to give a little background on what started the fines and fees, how we got to this town hall, right? The city joined the coalition. They now appointed a task force to work on this, a task force that both of us will be serving on. And I think we have a first meeting coming up very soon.
It's coming up.
I got to look at my calendar. But what was your thinking about driving this effort here in the city of Wilmington?
Right, so it's really hearing from the community. Most of the time I get calls a lot about fees and fines, and residents are not okay with them, right? And they feel like they're predatory, like the practices and procedures around accumulating fees and fines. So it really came from pressure from the community, from the parking coalition. They were sending plenty of emails about the issues that were being had. So when I got a chance to sit down and look at everything, I was like, something has to happen. We have to figure out a way to find solutions and recommendations to fix this issue. So that's really where it came from, and then partnering with the community. So this is like really listening to what the community is saying and saying, how do I take this serious as a council person, is how we even got to this point today. And then I was following this Fees and Fines National Group, and they had their first cohort of cities and counties, and they were working with them on providing technical assistance. They gave them a grant, and they were able to help them work through their fees and fines systems in their own jurisdiction. So I was like, I have to apply. We have to be a part of cohort 2. So we applied with some community people, and we got accepted. So we got the $50,000 grant. We were able to partner with Friendship House and launch a fees and fines fund. So if if your car is booted and you need up to $200, or if you have accumulated some parking tickets, you're able to contact the Friendship House today and able to apply that to help get your boot off, or towards if you just have accumulated tickets and you ain't get caught yet, right? And you need to pay them down. You're able to call the Friendship House to get that done. So a lot of great things are coming out of this. And now we're going to have a town hall to talk about water billing, to talk about these parking tickets, to talk about red light camera tickets, and say, how do we improve what already, because a lot of announcements have came out to like cut the cost of parking tickets, but then you have other fees and fines that have just been increased, right? So it's like, what's really happening here? What did this even really mean? So we're going to come together to have that conversation about fees and fines. So I'm excited for it. I want to just hear from the community, pick up what they want to see and be done, and that's what I'm here for. So
Yeah, and just to give a little background about, the data side of this, right? Looking at the numbers of when we were in a pandemic, right? June 20th, or June 2020 to July 2021, there was 27,988 parking tickets issued in the middle of a pandemic. There was 54,357 red light tickets issued. When it comes to booting and towing, in that same window, there was 2,410 vehicles that were towed, or that was booted, and 1,004 that was towed during that same window. And then if you look at water billing right now, there's about 38,000 utility customers in the city of Wilmington, right? Of that, over 11,000 are already delinquent of 30 days or more, right? As someone who pays their water bill on time, one of the issues that I see with the water billing system is the alert system that comes through. I get my alert on different days that my bill is due. And it does not come out on a standard date, right? It's not like I get an alert I can't set it so that it's every, 5th of the month I can pay my water bill, because it doesn't always post then. Whatever the city's doing, it does not work perfectly. And it's causing a lot of delinquency for a lot of people who want to pay their bill on time, but because of the inconsistency of when it's being posted, they're not able to. But again, as fines and fees, as you talk more about this, I'm sure you're going to cover this at the town hall, but just it's causing an economic hardship on a lot of Wilmingtonians, and it keeps a lot of people trapped in a cycle, right? If you have a bunch of parking tickets, you can't renew your license, right? You can't re-register your car, right? You have issues at the DMV. So again, it's just looking at where and what areas of the city have been heavily targeted, and you kind of see a certain demographic. You see it's been the more African American population that has been targeted, and the low income portions of the city that have been targeted, versus as just equal opportunity across the entire city. So again, There are people who are out there canvassing for this right now, who are inviting people to the town hall.
Yep.
Who are they're doing a survey right now about if you've been affected by this. So if you know someone or you've been affected, come on out. It's going to be at the POW next Tuesday, the 28th. And it's going to be a very good discussion. I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to seeing what comes out of it as well too, and connecting with individuals who have shared stories of hardship as well too. But other than that, I have nothing else in my section. Again, I just wanted to highlight some of those events that were going on, especially with the EARNS program, which again is April the 11th at the POW. The Fines and Fees Town Hall is Tuesday, March 28th at the POW. And do you know what time that starts?
For the town hall?
For the town hall.
I think it's 6 o'clock.
6 o'clock. And April the 11th, it starts at 5 p.m. So again, we have a lot of things going on. And then the landlord town hall that you mentioned in your section,
Yep.
what was the time? What time
6
does it
o'clock
start?
at the PAL Center.
Okay,
Mhm.
so we will put all three of those graphics up for you so that you know, you can write it down. You can get in contact with us if you have any additional questions. But that is all I have. We will be right back.
A town hall meeting is a gathering meant to give citizens the opportunity to ask questions and provide feedback to their representatives. This ranges from local politics, like city councils with open forums, to state and federal legislatures, and even presidential campaigns. Town hall meetings are typically scheduled into two sections, the legislators speaking on their duties, and an open floor for questions from constituents. It is important to attend town halls as it gives you a chance to interact directly with your representative and make an impression. Direct contact is by far the most influential method of communication with government officials. You usually can find when and where a local town hall will take place through your representative's website. You should also be able to sign up for newsletters via email, call the campaign headquarters, or check the candidate's social media. Additionally, the Town Hall Project provides a resource tracking events across the nation. Town hall locations often vary to allow attendance from an entire district or state. If you don't live in a densely populated area, this means that a future town hall might be much closer or several hours away, so take that into account. You want to leave a good impression, so it's important to plan ahead. First off, research all of your representatives. Look up their voting record and their stance on upcoming bills. If you disagree with how they have voted, you could ask them to explain their reasoning. If you're feeling generous, you could thank them for voting on a bill that you supported. In preparation for the town hall, brainstorm and create a list of questions before you attend. If you have an experience that could inform how a policy or specific piece of legislation will affect you, jot down some details to explain. Be succinct, no more than a couple of minutes, and be genuine. Order the list prioritizing the most important questions first, and plan on having the opportunity to only ask one thing. As soon as the floor is open for questions, immediately raise your hand. The longer you wait, the more likely you won't have a chance to speak. Frame your questions to make it clear how you want the representative to take action, in order to shut down any attempts at misdirection. Consider bringing a friend. Talk to people and see if friends, family, coworkers, or other peers want to engage in political action. Then build a support group among those interested in attending. We are stronger together, and even small collective action can demonstrate to your candidate that your group is a strong voting bloc. Disperse your group evenly throughout the crowd to ensure at least one of you are going to be called upon. Also, a friend in the crowd can capture video to promote accountability when a politician answers your question. Arrive early to talk to staff if you can. Be polite and ask your questions respectfully to get a candid response. Don't be rude, it won't help, and it will actively harm your chances of being heard. If your topic was asked before you got a chance to ask the question, amplify it by reframing or adding to it. Never leave early. If you are unable to ask your question or have additional questions, you may be able to ask them if they stick around. Even if the candidate leaves immediately, you can likely find a political director or campaign manager and try to speak to them instead. Give them a business card and a copy of your talking points to follow up with later. You can also take the opportunity to network with others at the event who are concerned with similar issues. After each event, Hold them accountable by sending in a handwritten letter or a phone call on the policy you asked about. Reinforce your point, but continue to be polite. Moving forward, it's important to be tenacious and stay involved. Continue to show up in town hall meetings to remind them of your presence and increase your visibility and presence as a constituent. And even if you don't have the bandwidth to do multiple events, you can also try trading off with friends, advocating for the same policy across multiple meetings. Increasingly, town halls are conducted virtually. You'll want to prepare your talking points just as you would for in-person events. Learn which platform is hosting the town hall, then download it ahead of time so you can learn how to use it and troubleshoot any issues. Set up and familiarize yourself with the mute and video settings. Start meetings on mute with no video. Toggle on your video at the start of the meeting and only unmute yourself when called on. Test your background. If you are going to be on video, choose a clean and simple background because everyone is going to see it. Check the meeting agendas to stay aligned with the discussions. Join the meeting promptly. Digital meetings often have a limited number of attendees. Also make sure that everyone else in your political group is similarly prepared. Attending public forums like town halls and council meetings is very important to the well-being of your community. Meeting face-to-face has a strong effect on an elected official. They have to see you as a person rather than a number, and you can hold them accountable for bad answers and harmful policy. Thank you for watching. If you need help finding events in your area, check the links in the description. If you enjoyed our content, don't forget to subscribe and click the bell to get notified about new Practice U videos. Special thanks to Lilac Forest for the video suggestion and Ilkin Gamber, Worker Guy, and our other patrons for funding this video.
Many Americans, including Delawareans, face a great retirement crisis. More than 200,000 Delaware workers currently lack access to an employer-sponsored retirement program, meaning they have no effective way to save for the future. Delaware Earns would stem that crisis. EARNS stands for Expanding Access for Retirement and Necessary Savings. Delaware Earns would automatically enroll employees into a state-facilitated savings plan, and with management of the program outsourced to the private sector, it leaves no burden to employers. Enacting Delaware Earns will enable more people to save for retirement, reducing the need for additional taxes to fund public assistance programs, and benefit small business owners by allowing them to attract and keep good employees by offering a crucial benefit like retirement savings. Ask your state representative and senator to support HB 205, Delaware Earns.
And we're back. Look, we wanted to just do a quick follow-ups on a few things.
Yeah.
I just wanted to follow up about the teens at Main Event. That lawsuit is still pending. The lawyers are working with all four families to make sure they get all the details before they file that lawsuit. The second point, and I know we've talked about it on this show quite often. I know our former co-host Jay Street and I had a very spirited debate about this. So I wanted to follow up about the marijuana bill.
Yeah.
So it has passed, it fully passed the state house, and it has passed out of committee as of last week. It has passed out of committee of the state Senate's health committee. That means it will be on the agenda when they come back. Currently, they are on another break. They are currently on their bond, which is capital improvements committee break. So only the individuals who are on the capital improvement committee are going down. They're listening to anyone who put in for funding for capital projects. Once they come back from that, and that's about 2 weeks. Once they come back for that, they will be voting on this and will be sending it to the governor's desk. Me personally, I don't know where the governor is going to do with this bill. It has gained support in both the House and in the Senate, making it a bipartisan bill yet again. But as we know from last year, the governor vetoed the bill, and then the House tried to override the veto, and that override failed. So I don't know where it's going to go this year. I don't know if they've been in communications with the governor and maybe he's willing to sign it. I hope he does because it opens up opportunity to stop targeting African Americans who've been disproportionately targeted with marijuana laws, even though blacks and whites smoke weed at the same rate. Did you have anything to add to this?
No, I just hope that it passes this year. So.
All right. So look, y'all, we are almost at episode 100. Continue to tell your friends about the show. Continue to tell your family about the show. Let's have the biggest show ever. This is episode 96, so we are 4 away. Let's have fun. And again, I just want to say thank you for sticking with us for so long. Thank you for being with us and continue to support this show. My name is Kobe Owens.
Shanae Darby.
Take care, y'all.
Talk soon.